So, you've just started watching Chief of War, and there's one name that keeps echoing. Kaiana. Played by Jason Momoa, he's front and center, charging into battle, making power moves, and clearly has a rich backstory. But here's the thing. Kaiana isn't just a fictional hero made for television. He was real, and his life, it was filled with rebellion, exploration, betrayal, and legacy. Welcome back to your nerdy show. I'm your host, Spoiler Master. In fact, Kaiana's journey reflects one of the most fascinating and bloody chapters of Hawaiian history. This is the story of a man who was caught between two worlds, the traditional Hawaiian system of chiefs and gods, and the rising influence of the Western world with its ships, guns, and changing politics. The real story behind the warrior. Let's rewind to the late 1700s. Hawaii wasn't the single unified paradise you might imagine today. Back then, it was split into four major kingdoms: Oahu, Maui, Kauai, and Hawaii, also called the Big Island. Each of these islands had their own high chiefs, known as ali'i nui, ruling over territories with armies, alliances, and rivalries. The political situation was intense. Everyone was trying to gain more land, more power, and more prestige. Enter Kaiana, a young nobleman from a powerful bloodline, born into this brewing storm. Kaiana was no ordinary warrior. He came from a family tied to Hawaiian royalty. His grandfather was Keaweʻikekehialiʻokamoku, a chief of the Big Island and a common ancestor of both Kaiana and Kamehameha I. That made the two men cousins, though their future paths would put them on opposite sides of history. He also had two half-brothers, Nahiolea and Namakeha, who show up in Chief of War as important characters. Together, the three brothers became warriors for Kahekili II, the king of Maui. They helped Kahekili conquer Oahu in the early 1880s, a huge deal since Oahu was one of the most powerful islands at the time. But things didn't stay sweet for long. Walking away from a king after that victory, Kaiana and his brothers did something unheard of. They walked away. They abandoned King Kahekili. Some say they were disillusioned by his leadership. Others believe they felt disrespected or sidelined. Whatever the reason, leaving a chief's service back then wasn't just risky. It was basically a death wish. But Kaiana wasn't like other men. He didn't follow the script. Instead of hiding or groveling for forgiveness, he did something no Hawaiian had ever done. The global explorer. Kaiana goes abroad. He boards a ship captained by John Mears, a British fur trader. Now, this part of his life is truly incredible because he becomes one of the first native Hawaiians to travel internationally. He sails across the Pacific, to China, to the Philippines, even up to the Pacific Northwest coast of North America. While on board, Kaiana wasn't just an observer. He learned, he absorbed. He saw how Westerners fought, how they navigated, and most importantly, how they used firearms and cannons. He learned their tactics, their culture, their ambitions. And when he returned home, he brought more than just knowledge. He brought power. The return. A man changed. Kaiana came back to Hawaii with a sharp mind, new ideas, and a vision for the future. He also brought something that was a literal game changer in Hawaiian warfare: guns. Not only did he introduce firearms to native warfare, but he also understood how to use them effectively. He had studied naval warfare, battle formations, and the advantages of gunpowder. This made him one of the most valuable military minds in all of Hawaii. And that's exactly what attracted the attention of his cousin, Kamehameha I. The Kamehameha Alliance. For a while. At this time, Kamehameha was rising fast. His dream? To unify all the Hawaiian islands under one rule. and he was making serious moves, forming alliances, expanding his army, and using every resource at his disposal. Kaiana joined forces with Kamehameha, and for a time, things were good. Together, they were an unstoppable combination. Kamehameha with his ambition and army, Kaiana with his foreign knowledge and strategic mind. But, as you probably guessed, this alliance wouldn't last. From ally to enemy. We still don't know exactly what happened, but at some point, something broke between Kaiana and Kamehameha. Some historians say Kaiana felt unappreciated. Others think Kamehameha started to see Kaiana as a threat. Whatever the truth, Kaiana switched sides. And not just quietly. He joined Kalanikupule, the son of Kahekili II and chief of Oahu, the very person Kamehameha was planning to conquer next. That move set the stage for the legendary Battle of Nuuanu in 1995. The Battle of Nuuanu is where it all ends. This battle was huge. Kamehameha's forces landed on Oahu, determined to crush the last real resistance to his vision of a united Hawaii. Kaiana, now fighting for Oahu, took charge of defending the Pali Cliffs, a steep, treacherous terrain perfect for holding off invaders. But it didn't work. Kamehameha's forces overran the defenders. Hundreds of warriors were pushed over the cliffs to their deaths, and Kaiana, he was killed. Either in the heat of the battle or, according to some sources, betrayed by his own side before it even began. It was a tragic, violent end for a man who once held the future of Hawaii in his hands. Kaiana's legacy: hero, traitor, or both. So what do we make of Kaiana today? Was he a hero, a visionary, a man of his time? Or was he a traitor, someone who put ego over unity? The truth probably lives somewhere in between. Kaiana was complex. He wanted more for himself and his people. He didn't want to be a pawn in someone else's game. He traveled the world, mastered new technologies, and challenged traditional power structures. He was, in every sense, a man of transition, caught between two eras: the old ways of Polynesian rule and the new world of Western influence. Kahumanu and the women of the era. Let's not forget one of the most powerful figures of this time, Ka'uhumanu. She's portrayed in Chief of War by Lucianne Buchanan and plays a big part in the story. In real life, Ka'uhumanu was born on Maui, the daughter of Keaumoku II. She was sharp, strategic, and politically savvy. Eventually, she married Kamehameha I and became his favorite wife, and later, his political partner. After his death, she ruled as Kuhina Nui, a co-ruler position that allowed her to continue shaping the kingdom. She pushed for major social reforms, including the abolishment of the kapu system, ancient religious laws, and the introduction of Christianity to the islands. While Kaiana's story is one of rebellion and battle, Ka'uhumanu's is one of diplomacy and transformation. Together, their legacies shaped what Hawaii would become.
Marley.
Europeans in Hawaii, the arrival of change. It's impossible to tell Kaiana's story without mentioning the arrival of Europeans in the Pacific. The first major European to reach the Hawaiian Islands was Captain James Cook in 1778. At first, Cook's visit was peaceful. The Hawaiians were intrigued, and some even thought he was a god. But when he returned in 1779, tensions had grown. During a dispute, Cook was killed by Hawaiians on the Big Island. That incident sent a message. Westerners weren't invincible. Still, their presence continued to grow. Traders like John Mears, who sailed with Kaiana, opened doors to new weapons, diseases, and technologies. Hawaii was changing, and Kaiana, whether he meant it or not, helped accelerate that change. So, what does Chief of War get right? Now let's talk about Chief of War again. How accurate is the show? Honestly, pretty solid so far. Of course, there's dramatizations and name tweaks. Kaiana's brothers' names are slightly changed, timelines get compressed, but the heart of the story is true to the real man. They're showing the bloodlines, the shifting loyalties, the warfare, the politics, and the cultural pride of the era. The use of olelo Hawaii, Hawaiian language, traditional clothing, and real historical figures gives it depth that most historical dramas miss. And Jason Momoa as Kaiana, he brings the weight, the pain, and the power. Kaiana was a warrior, but he was also a thinker, a dreamer, someone who dared to ask what was possible. Our nerdy thoughts. Kaiana's story isn't just about battle. It's about choice. He chose to explore beyond his shores. He chose to bring new ideas home. He chose to break from tradition, and in doing so, he helped shape the future of Hawaii. He may have died on the losing side of a war, but his legacy, that still echoes through the islands today. Was Kaiana a misunderstood hero, or a tragic rebel who flew too close to the sun? Let us know in the comments. And if you want deep dives into other Chief of War characters or battles, hit that like button and subscribe for more historical breakdowns. Mahalo for watching. Until next time.
No, what the heck, I'll laugh anyway.